Hello and good evening. Tonight's story is from Grimm's Fairy Tales. It's Rumplestilskin. Once upon a time, there was a miller who had a very beautiful daughter. She was not only beautiful, but also shrewd and clever, and her father was never tired of boasting about the wonderful things she could do. One day, having to go to the palace on business, he told the king that his daughter could spin gold out of straw. Now the king was very fond of money, and when he heard the miller's boast, he at once ordered the girl to be brought before him. Then he led her to a room where there was a great quantity of straw, gave her a spinning wheel, and said, "All this straw must be spun into gold before morning. If it is not, you will surely be put to death." It was in vain that the poor maiden declared that she could do no such thing. The door was locked and she was left alone. She sat down in one corner and began to weep, when suddenly the door opened and a funny little man hobbled in and said, "Good morrow, my lass. What are you crying for?" "Alas," said she, "I must spin all this straw into gold, and I don't even know how to begin." "What will you give me?" asked the little man, "to spin it for you?" "My beautiful necklace," replied the maiden. The dwarf took her at her word and sat himself down to the wheel. Round and round it went merrily, and presently the work was done and all the gold was spun. When the king came and saw this, he was greatly surprised and pleased, but his heart grew still more greedy, and he shut up the poor miller's daughter in another room with a fresh task. She did not know what to do and sat down once more to weep. But the little man presently opened the door and asked, "What will you give me to do your task?" "This diamond ring," she replied. So her little friend took the ring and worked away at the wheel till by morning all was finished again. The king was delighted to see the gold, but still he wasn't satisfied, and took the girl into a larger room and said, "If all this is spun tonight, you shall be my queen." As soon as she was alone, the dwarf came in and asked, "What will you give me to spin the gold for you this time?" "I have nothing left to give," she said. "Then promise me," said the little man, "your first little child when you are queen." "That may never be," thought the miller's daughter, and as she knew no other way to get her task done, she promised what he asked, and once more he spun the whole heap of gold. The king came in the morning, and finding all the gold he wanted, married her. At the birth of her first little child, the queen rejoiced greatly, quite forgetting the little man and her promise. But one day he came into her room and reminded her of it. Then she grieved sadly at her misfortune and offered him all the treasures of the kingdom in exchange. At last he said, "I will give you 3 days' grace, and if during that time you tell me my name, you shall keep your child." The next day the little man came, and she began with Timothy, Benjamin, Jeremiah, and all the names she could remember. But to all of them, he said, "That's not my name." The second day, she began with all the comical names she had ever heard of: bandy legs, hunchbacks, crookshanks, and so on. But still she could not guess his name. The third day, back came a trusted messenger, which the queen had sent out, and said, "As I was climbing a high hill among the trees of the forest, I saw a little hut, and before the hut burned a fire, and round about the fire a funny little man danced a little jig upon one leg, and sang, 'Today I'll brew, tomorrow bake, merrily I'll dance and sing. Tomorrow will a baby bring, the lady cannot stop my game, Rumplestilskin is my name.'" When the queen heard this, she jumped for joy. Soon her little visitor came in and asked, "Now, lady, what is my name?" "Is it John?" asked she. "No." "Tom?" "No." "Can your name be Rumplestilskin?" "Some witch told you that. Some witch told you that," cried the little man in a rage, and dashed his right foot so deeply into the floor that he was forced to take hold of it with both hands to pull it out. Then he twirled away, and the queen never saw him again. Well, that's the end of this story. Thank you for listening. Good night and sleep tight.